So when a 4-year-old cries, or a 6-year-old, when they did something wrong, they're not crying because they necessarily feel guilty, but they were either caught in it, or they were, feel bad. So you don't have to tell them what they did wrong. They know. But what you could do is just stroke them and tell them, I love you. Or when a 6-year-old will say to a mommy, I don't want you as my mommy. Don't respond to it. Just put her on your knees, give her a hug, and say, I love you. All the time. Not seeing any of the comments, if there are. Yeah, there are, but it's not showing. I don't know why. It's happened before. A moment. I'll try to get him on another. All right, I have to get them elsewhere. Welcome to Tanya Today. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad Zurich Kadeshim in Montreal, Canada, where it's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. And we share with Clem in Brisbane, Eugenia in Calgary, Julia is in Pennsylvania, Davida Liba in New York, and for whatever reason, having trouble getting any more comments. We have Vilman, we have Michael, Clubhousers, we have Akoy from Peru. Ooh, we have, I can't make it out. I can't make out some of that. We have Alice in Baltimore. We have person, I don't know if I got that right, Ellen in Brazil, Hamid in Montreal. Yenta Telebenta. Tim in Texas. Carmen we have with us. Oh, okay. Carmen, welcome. Alrighty. Okay, having difficulty with the comments, but all right. Let us move forward. The following letter was written by the Alter Rebbe after his release from prison in 1798. Yud Tes Chav Kislev, the 19th and 20th of Kislev, was his day that he was released from prison from trumped up charges against him for abetting the Ottoman Empire, which controlled Israel at the time, sending funds to the foes of the Tsar of Russia. And of course, he was sending funds to Israel, but to the poor that were there. And 32 other complaints that were made against him that came from those who were against the Hasidic movement and felt that it was a great danger. The fact that he was released from prison was a nod from heaven that the teachings are not only appropriate teachings, Tanya, Chabad teachings, but that they need now to go to the next level of dissemination. That's what the nod from heaven was. That was the whole question the Alter Rebbe had when he was in prison, that perhaps I am not to continue these teachings. They're unique teachings in his time and even in our times today. Even in the Hasidic world, it's Chabad, Chachma Bina B'das, wisdom, understanding, and knowledge, which is about giving teachings to simple folk like me and like you, not righteous people or great Kabbalists who are deeply steeped in mystical teachings, but for the regular folk, that we can also have the knowledge of God. Well, other Hasidic circles, that was left to the righteous, to the mystics, to the tzaddikim, to the righteous people. And they inspired their followers. And the followers, got little nuggets, like today. If you can say something in 15 seconds, so, oh, you got my attention. But, Rabbi, you're going to speak for 20 minutes? You get the message. So he's released from prison, and this is his letter to his followers as a result. It is titled Noch Petersburg in Yiddish, meaning after Petersburg, because that's the capital of Russia at the time was Petersburg, under the Tsar of Russia, and he was imprisoned in the Spakalaria prison, and this is after, and and Epistle 2, this is the second letter, which is hinting also to the second level of disseminations of Chabad teachings, which again are the essence of Chabad teachings is Tanya, what we're learning. So he begins this letter with the words from Jacob, our forefather. Katointi mikola chasadim mikola emes. I had become small because of all of the favors and from all of the truth. Jacob felt very small because God had done so much for him, and now Esau, his brother, was coming after him, and he felt perhaps he doesn't have the merit. So he explains, Pirish, what does that mean to become small because of favors and truth? So every single favor that God bestows upon an individual ought to make the person small, meaning humble, and very humble. Why? Well, because it's God's kindness, which is his figure of speech, his right arm, that embraces the individual, right? In other words, what God is doing when he's doing an act of kindness to you, he's bringing you close to him, more intensely close than you were previous to that act of kindness. And whoever it brought closer before God, right, ought to become ever more humbled. Ought to become ever more humbled. Because before God, all is esteemed as nothing. When you're distant from God, you can feel your own self, your own identity, your own specialness. But you're standing right before God. What are you going to feel? You or God? Parenthetically, when a chassid stands before the Rebbe, anybody ever stood, well, we never stood before the Alter Rebbe physically, but I've stood before the Lubavitcher Rebbe, our Rebbe, physically. When you're distant, but you can feel your own, I want to ask him this question, I have this issue, I want to relay this to the Rebbe. You're feeling your own needs, your own, your feelings. When you get in front of him, literally, you lose yourself. You're in front of a divine person, a holy person that is holy through and through, that sees you through and through. And when you're standing before that, you're not feeling yourself. Even the things that you wanted to say, it's all of a sudden, it's, you are mumbo jumbo. It's difficult. So when you're standing before God because he did a kindness to you, of course you're not going to feel your self-worth. I am worthy to be, you're not going to feel your significance. You're going to feel your utter nothingness. Therefore, whoever is more before God, closer to God, is much more like nothing, non-existent. This is the self-effacing response that comes from divine favors, that God embraces you, the individual, right, with his right side of holiness, chesed, right? And this is the idea of Abraham. Abraham is the embodiment of kindness, and God embraced him with his kindness. And what did he say about that? He said, I am dust and ashes. In other words, he was self-effacing. He didn't feel his significance. He felt the greatness of the one that bestowed upon him. And this is also the humility that's born out of kindness. It is the character trait of Jacob, Yaakov Avinu. And that's why he justified himself with the fear of Esav, his brother, coming after him. Even though God had promised him that I'm going to be with you. Yeah, but maybe that I'm not worthy. Maybe I've used up my credit, as it were, right? I've used up my credit. And furthermore, because God, you've done so many favors for me that maybe I have no favor left. In other words, he doesn't see himself as worthy of the favor of God. He doesn't see himself worthy of it, to be saved by God. So therefore he says, I'm small because of all of the favors. Because indeed he has an awareness of God, that he stands before him close, and therefore doesn't sense his worthiness. He sensed the awesomeness of the one who gave him, the one who favored him. That's what he senses. And therefore doesn't feel fitting, and therefore makes the request simply, God, be there for me. That's different than the unholy counterpart of the same attribute of kindness, but not in a holy manner. It becomes the side of le'umazeh, the other side, Sitter Acher. And who's the embodiment of unholy kindness? Is Ishmael. Ishmael. He personifies the attribute of chesed that belongs to Klipa. That the more kindness that's shown to Ishmael and the ilk of Ishmael, is the more a person grows in self-satisfaction, arrogance, and pride. Of course I got. Hey, it's me. Of course I'm deserving. It's me. That self-satisfaction and arrogance that a person feels deserved of the kindnesses that God shows them. Or, for that matter, another human being bestows upon them. You feel that you're a worthy. So, the Alter Rebbe is telling his Hasidim, guard yourself from this. Don't have chesed of klipa. Then when God shows you and gives you that you feel satisfied, smug, feeling that you are someone special. Obviously a sign how distant you are from truth, how distant you are from God. Accordingly, says the Alter Rebbe, that was all a preface. Well, I mean, that was a teaching in and of itself, of course, worthy. But says accordingly. Alter Rebbe says, I'm making a weighty announcement to all of the men of the Hasidic fraternity regarding the multitude of favors, the great things that God has done for us. And not just for him. Because our Rebbe is us, right? As a result of all the favors, hold on to the attribute of Yaakov, of Jacob. Not feeling your specialness, but you are what we call the remnant of his people. Meaning, a remnant is like the leftover. Like the leftovers that no one likes to eat. Right? That seems dispensable. Leftovers are dispensable. So don't feel yourself so haughty. Let's think about it. How a chassid of the Alter Rebbe, whose life was in danger, didn't know what would be. And he's released from prison, and knowing that the reason why he's in prison is because those who were anti the Hasidic movement, Jews, religious Jews, were the ones who, brought his teachings and brought his, ways to the Tsar of Russia and to, government officials, and that's why he got in prison. So now he's released from prison. You're going to see that kind of Jew on the street. What are you going to do? Oh. Well, imagine what would be the feeling inside, right? So says the Alter Rebbe, let the men of our fraternity not become haughty in the relationship to their brethren, who are the opponents, right, who caused the arrest of the Alter Rebbe. Let them not jeer, nor whistle derisively at them, heaven forfend. A strict warning, hold your peace, mention nothing. Rather, subdue your spirit and your heart before, as you should be before every person, with the attribute of the truth of Yaakov, and Yaakov, and with humility, and a soft answer that turns away anger, and with self-restraint. And perhaps God will put, with this loving response, into their hearts, as water reflects one's face, so too does the heart of one man reflect to the heart of another. In other words, if you will be irreverent, you're going to bring out bad things. If you're going to be humble in your dealings with brethren, fellow Jews, Yeah, they did a terrible thing. They're opponents, but they're still fellow Jews. And with that humility, perhaps, will arouse in their heart something good and positive and bring them closer to the truth. The truth. Wow. Extremely powerful. So, kindness. If someone does an act of kindness to you, of course you say thank you. Often we feel, wow, you make me feel so special. I feel so special. Of course, that's a very childish way that I feel my specialness. Because who's really special in that moment? The person that gave. Didn't have to give, they gave. So who's special? They are special. So special is the other and not you that you don't even feel your specialness. You actually even feel undeserved. Of course, that's when, not just when God does something, even when another person does something for you, right? And even though maybe that's their job to do it, even if it's their job to do it, the expectation doing for me because, no, that's not humility. Yeah. Very powerful. And that the Chassidim, how they had to have that self-restraint is really something. Okay. So I mentioned I can't see the comments on Facebook. If anybody has on Instagram, I could see that. Or on Clubhouse, I could hear you. Oh, Jane. How to stay humble. Sometimes it seems whenever you are aware that you are humble, you become arrogant. Yeah, that's true, Jane. That is true. Yeah. It's yeah. We're all BITs, Beinoni in training. We're a work in progress. When we recognize that, and this is um, the path we take, little by little, we become yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry. Everything is I don't know what happened here, but we had a wonderful TRC last night. Also, Torah Studies class. If you want the Torah Studies, you can get that at TanyaRabbi.com. We spoke about how to be able to find your hidden treasures that are inside of you. We have such profound, beautiful treasures inside of us. It's all worth finding. Rambam coming up. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad Zurich in Montreal, Canada. It's a privilege, a pleasure to share with you, Tanya. Have an amazing, wonderful day. Thank you. Thank you.